I'd like to take just a few minutes to talk to you about some marriage mistakes that we see in the life of Abraham and Sarah. Over the years, as I taught marriage conferences, I just studied each couple in the Bible and said, let me find the positives and let me find the mistakes. And so here is one about mistakes. You know, in Genesis 11:29, Abraham and Nahor took them wives, and Abraham's wife was Sarai, and she was barren and she had no child, it says to us. And the first mistake I just want to bring to your attention as I look at their lives is when you are being selfish and self-centered, thinking everything should revolve around you, you are making a massive marriage mistake. And young men do that, and old men do that, and young women do that, and old women do that. I think it's pretty obvious in the life of Abraham that he did that, because in Genesis chapter 12 and verse 11, he said to his wife, I don't want him to hurt me. And so when we get there, I want you to tell them you're my sister, and that way they won't hurt me. He told her in chapter 12, Genesis chapter 12, verse 11, you're a pretty woman to look at, and when the Egyptians see you, they'll think you're my wife, and they'll want to kill me, but they'll save you. And so I'm asking you, please, to tell them that you're my sister, that things would go well with me, and I'd be able to stay alive, and I'd be able to live because you're saying such nice things. And when they get there, the Egyptians see her, and they say that she's very fair, very pretty, very beautiful. And they bragged on her, and she was taken along with the other women into Pharaoh's house. And Pharaoh began to treat Abraham very well because he had his wife. And it was the Lord who plagued Pharaoh because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And he figured out that God didn't want him messing with Abram's wife. And so he calls Abram in and says, what in the world have you done? And Abram responds and says, well, she is my sister. She's, we're half brother and sister. So I didn't totally lie to you. I just kind of half lied to protect myself. And so he literally is like, let them take you, let them marry you, let them have relations with you, let them do whatever they want. Just don't hurt me. Let me take care of me. That's in Genesis chapter 12 and verse 11, and he gets in trouble for it. Even a pagan calls his hand at it. And we go 8 more chapters in, and in Genesis chapter 20 and verse 2, Abram said to Sarah, said of Sarah, she's my sister, and Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took her. So he took her into his house. In 2011, Abram said, he's getting fussed at again. He said, I thought, surely the fear of God's not in this place, and they will slay me for my wife's sake. I'd rather them kill my wife. I'd rather them take my wife, rape my wife, do whatever they want. So I said, she's my sister, because really, she is, He said, she's the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother. And he tells the same thing. He is only thinking of himself. Now, I think about how it works in marriage and how, when we're dating, we're so keen on being sure to meet the needs and expectations of our to-be spouse. But once we're married, it's almost like you owe me for us to be in this marriage, and you owe me, and you ought to be doing this stuff for me. And so I would just challenge you we don't want to let things revolve around us. Learn to love your spouse and work towards being a good husband or wife.